After nearly 1,000 years, Netflix finally graced us with an announcement for the release date for Bridgerton Season 4. Everyone, sing it with me. At last. I can't believe it took them 84 years to give us something. Now, am I a bit tickled pink that I came close with my prediction for when we would get the new season? Remember 2 teasers ago when they released the Season of Love clip, I pointed out that they would probably drop season 4 around Valentine's Day. And yes, I know, we are once again getting a season split in half, with one half dropping on January 29th and the other half on February 26th. So again, a 1 month split, which Netflix, why? But yeah, even though it is not exactly on February 14th, it is close enough that I am taking this as a win. But yeah, after having watched that little date announcement teaser clip way too many times, I figured what better way to get back to the channel after my mini break that was caused by an adventurous foray into foods I should not have been eating, as my body was quick to let me know, than to dive into the 15 seconds of screen time crumbs that we were given, because as I am sure it comes as no surprise to anyone really, I noticed a couple of things I would like to talk about. Starting with the very obvious symbolism that I'm sure we all clocked immediately. Sophie climbs up the stairs. Benedict, who was walking down the stairs, stops. And when they have that moment of staring across at each other, it is with Sophie in an elevated position, with Benedict staring up at her with all that love in his eyes that makes me so giddy. But which also hints on how big of a pedestal Benedict is going to place her in the season, where he sees her as this person that is forever out of reach and is leagues above him, with an identity he can't seem to crack or unravel, forever in the dark because of the mask she has on, which means he can't tell who she is or how to find her. A la Cinderella, which I gobble up. Like I already stated that from the first teasers, it seems like the show might make a couple of tweaks to how the story was framed in the books, which I really am keeping my fingers crossed for, because Benedict definitely didn't come off in the best of lights in said books. God damn it, Benedict Bridgerton. No means no, you dunderhead. But in addition to the placing her on the pedestal, it's also a great way to further highlight how big of a role a muse Sophie is going to play in Benedict's life and in his art. I say that once again, they have the shot situates the chandelier that calls back to the teaser, where the first thing that Benedict notices about Sophie is how engrossed she is in the beauty of the reflector chandelier. And like I mentioned in the video I made about that clip, I thought it was a great way to show that Benedict in the season will most likely learn to look at the world around him with new eyes, to take delight in the little moments he's taken for granted and capture them with his artist brush by looking at the world through the joy with which Sophie takes it all in. So to me, the announcement trailer further drives that point home. Of course, I am curious if I'm the only one who noticed that, and would as always love to hear your thoughts on that. Then there is the fact that Sophie is going up and Benedict is going down. Now, I have seen some people read that as symbolic to Benedict going down into the servants' quarters, which I understand, right? But I don't actually interpret the scene that way. He's heading down to the receiving area, probably the ballroom, which is often on the ground floor and the place where a family like the Bridgertons would host Violet's famous masquerade ball. Sophie, on the other hand, is headed up to where the family resides, their private residence. I see that clip as a nod to confirm that yes, she will soon join the family by virtue of her getting with Benedict, but also a subtle way to hint at her, and this is a mild spoiler for those who haven't read the book, as this is legit meant to be Sophie's characterization that we would probably be made aware of in the very first episode, in like a first couple of minutes. But as I was saying, I saw it as a subtle way to hint at her servant status, as there are only 2 people who will be heading into the private residence of a family during a ball like this one: members of the household or the servants who have to attend to them. Sophie heading up when she's still a stranger to Benedict, whilst being all glammed up for the ball, is meant to hint at the duality of both. She's both a love interest with a servant's position, and to me, it's such a great way to have have that shot hint at that. Of course, once again, I might just be saying it that way and it might be wrong. I'm, as always, open to other people's interpretation. So please let me know your thoughts of that shot in the comments. And then there's the fact that when we cut to a wider shot of Sophia and Benedict up on the wall, between them, if you zoom in, I'm not sure if it is more an etching or a relief, but it's an art of Asclepius, Greek god of medicine and healing, holding what looks like the rod of Asclepius. Now, for a moment there, I was, and please give me the room to nerd out a bit here, but for a moment, I thought it was a caduceus, Hermes' caduceus, to signify his role as a messenger and herald, which threw me off a bit as I tried to figure out who exactly was in the art piece. People tend to mix them up together. It doesn't help that having it so zoomed in meant that the image wasn't as clear as I wanted it to be. But then I noticed that it was one serpent crossed along the rod and not two. And I was like, not the caduceus. That is Asclepius's rod. And the reason why it made me so delighted is because of the symbolism of that, because it speaks to how desperately Benedict is in need of healing, and to have it situated partway between Sophie and Benedict in that shot is such a great way to hint of how much healing they would both be bringing into each other's lives. And it's just fantastic. That, with the sculpture and the engravings and the moldings, just reinforces how big art and the interpretation and appreciation of it would play in the season that centers the man, the artist that is Benedict Bridgerton. And I am ready for it. Now, here is hoping that the season spends more time on Benedict with his art rather than trying to cram 10,000 plot points into 8 episodes like they did in season 3. Please, Bridgerton gods, I am begging you. And finally, and this is just a little addition to the bit really, but Julie Andrews is back to voicing the teaser, which is giving me hope, because whilst you all know how much I adore Penelope Featherington and Nicola by virtue of her playing her so well, Lady Whistledown will always be Julie Andrews to me. And the end of season 3, where they changed to Nicola's voice for the Lady Whistledown writing, made me so terrified that we were never going to get Dame Julie Andrews's dulcet tones reading the Lady Whistledown articles anymore, now that the cover of Anonymity has been stripped from pen. But Julie's back with her voice, and it gives me hope that maybe, just maybe, Netflix heard us all collectively praying that we don't lose her voice in season 4, and so they gave her back to us. And if that is the case, I thank you, Netflix, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I will forgive you this once for splitting the season into 2 halves if truly you brought Julie Andrews back as the voice of Lady Whistledown in Bridgerton season 4. I know it's silly, but a girl's gotta have her moment of happiness wherever she can find it. And this is it for me. But here, those are some things I think you might have missed in the announcement teaser that I thought to talk about. It is quite shorter than my usual video, I know, but I just had to make this because I'm still doing a little jig that we don't have to wait till July or, God forbid, October next year to get the new season. So yeah, please share your thoughts with me in the comments. Whether or not you agree with me, like this video if you've watched this far and haven't done so yet. Share this if you want. Support me on Patreon if you can. If you can't, however, do consider checking out my other channels. One is my gaming channel and the other holds my ASMR content, which I will soon get to populating before the end of the year. I promise. I have both channels linked in the description bar if they sound like something you might be interested in. Whichever the case may be, however, I will see you tomorrow with a new video. Until then, do remember, obsessing over the things you love, perfectly valid coping mechanism.